Hello everybody, my name is Mario5514 and welcome back to another Splatoon talk video. In this video we're going to be looking back at some of the previous updates in Splatoon 2's history. The game may be empty today, but we're going to be looking back to see what changes Nintendo was giving during the Splatoon 2 era. And if you end up enjoying the video, hit the like button, and if you end up liking the video, consider subscribing, and let's get started as we jump into version 2.3, which dropped on February 28th, 2018. And yeah, this update gave us a whole list of bug fixes or adjustments, and they're all for Turf War, ranked battles, as well as for private battles, I would think, but they're most likely just for online multiplayer. Yeah, look at this huge list right here. This is kind of similar to 1.2 in Splatoon 3, but 1.2, Splatoon 3's 1.2 had a lot more bug fixes than just this. Yeah, this is just a huge list of them. And we can just jump right into the patch notes. First up is Aerospray. Increase the number of drops of ink per shot. So basically it reverts the nerf from 1.4, partially. So its droplet rate was increased from 0.8 to 1, so that's nice. As well as it was given a paint buff in the process, I would think. 52. Increase the accuracy of the first shot and extended the time that it takes to reach minimum accuracy when continuing to shoot. So what this means is that it was given an accuracy buff. So the minimum chance that the shots had to deviate was reduced from 6% to 2%, and the chance per shot was reduced from 6% to 4%, which in terms of this change, it basically doubled its accuracy. Originally, 52 only had 3 shots to reach minimum accuracy, and it was increased to 6. So yeah, 52 is going to start seeing a little bit more use with it, though with 52 and 52 Deco not being that good right now, considering the fact that Baller may be strong, but it's not that good on 52, and 52 Deco may have Stingray, you're most likely going to pick up Ray Charger or Heavy Splatling for that. But still, it's a solid change for 52. Jet Squelcher. Increased accuracy of shot immediately after jumping by roughly 20%. So basically it was given 20% less jump RNG. So this reduced it down from 10 degrees to 8 degrees. This I think is a good change. I don't think you're going to be jumping as much with Jet Squelcher, or you're not going to be jumping at all, but this is still a decent change for it. On top of the 40% shot speed increase it got in the previous update in version 2.0. But still, it's a very solid change. We'll take it. Clash Blaster. Reduced interval between continuous shots from 22/60ths of a second to 20/60ths of a second. So its fire rate was basically buffed by 2 frames. However, it also got a nerf as a trade-off. Adjusted the radius of inking and number of drops that rain down so that the inked area per unit shot doesn't become too large as a result of the above mentioned improvement to continuous shooting. So yeah, Clash got a bit of a paint nerf as a trade-off, or as kind of like a quality of life change, you could say. But I think this is more of a trade-off here, or a rework. So you know, it still remains consistent. L3, increase bullet velocity by roughly 25% without changing the flight distance. This is a very solid change for L3, considering the fact that this weapon isn't really that good right now, despite it being one of the most popular weapons in Turf War. But it's not until later that we'll see L3, but still a decent change. H3, made it so that accuracy does not decrease even when shooting immediately after a jump. So what this means is that its jump RNG was reduced to match that of its ground RNG, basically going from 6 degrees to 1 degree. This by far was a very substantial buff to H3, finally putting it in a place where it could actually function as a decent weapon. And on top of that, expanded the size of area inked at the point of impact. So basically it was given a paint buff, so the radius of near and far range droplets were increased both from 19 units to 21 units. So we're going to start seeing H3 a lot more, and with H3D coming out in the future by 3.0, we're going to start seeing this weapon more often as, yeah, H3 currently has sensor missiles, and H3D will have suction bomb and ink armor, which will give it a much better usage, which will make H3 more of a usable option, given that it has a kit that works off of the main weapon. So that's nice. Carbon Roller. Extended the distance at which max damage is dealt when landing an attack at the extent of a horizontal swing by 35%. So basically, its kill range when you deal max damage has been extended or lengthened by 35%. So that's a very substantial buff for Carbon Roller. So that's nice. Don't think Carbon Roller is going to see much use, but I mean, it could help with Carbon Deco, given that it's paired with Burst Bomb, despite having Auto Bomb Launcher. But still, it's a decent buff. E-Liter and E-Liter Scope got a very substantial buff. And that is increased speed of fully charged shots by 50% without changing shot distance. So basically, the shot when you pull the trigger or when you release ZR, the shot will come out 50% faster. So that's a very substantial buff for it. So that's nice. Mini Splatling. Reduce the time until ink begins to refill after shooting by 10/60ths of a second. So basically, the ink recovery delay nerf that I got back upon the game's launch has now been reverted. So that's nice. So Mini Splatling has got another substantial buff on top of what it was given previously. Hydra Splatling. Extended the duration of maximum continuous fire by roughly 25%. So what this means is that its firing duration is now going to last 25% longer on the first circle and on the full charge. So that's nice. So Hydra got a substantial buff, and this is also the first buff that Hydra's been given since its unveiling or since its return in 2.0. Yeah. Dually Squelchers. Increased accuracy of the standard firing mode by roughly 20%. So basically, its ground RNG and jump RNG in standard fire has been reduced by 20%. So its ground RNG was reduced from about 6 degrees to 4 degrees, and its jump RNG was reduced from 8 degrees to 6.4 degrees. So we're going to start seeing dually squelchers more often. So that's nice. So dually squelchers are now becoming more relevant picks, which we'll start seeing later in 3.0. And last up is Undercover Brella. Expanded overall ink range, so it basically can paint more from far away. I guess that's nice, but I mean, Undercover is still not that good. Sub-weapons. Only one. Squid Beacon. Made it so that the position of opponent players within the area of effect is displayed on all allies' turf map. So that's nice. So Squid Beacon kind of makes it as like a it kind of functions like a radar system. So basically, Squid Beacons can function like radar. So that's nice. So you'll be able to see them more effectively, and you'll know where they are. And we also have some special weapons. Tent missiles. Made it so that the player can now press the ZL button, enter squid form, and move around in the period between readying the weapon and firing it. So, yeah. What this means is that you're now able to enter squid form when you deploy tent missiles, not when you before you launch them. So, yeah, if you deploy tent missiles, you can swim around and change your position before firing them off. So yeah, tent missiles are now going to see more usability. So that's a huge change for it. Inkjet. Made it so that the player can change direction of movement more quickly than before. Which, yeah, its movement is going to be more effective, or it's going to be a lot more. Its handling is more easier. Baller was also given the same buff as well. So that's nice. And points for special changes, there's a decent sized list. Only 6 changes. Custom Splattershot Jr. will get Inkstorm at 180. 10 Attack Splattershot will get Inkjet at 210, finally escaping 230p. So that's a very huge change, which is nice. 96 Gal will get Ink Armor at 190. Gold Dynamo will get Ink Armor at 190. Splat Roller will get Splashdown at 180. And Slosher Deco will get Baller at 200. So these changes are not very intrusive, or they're just not bad, but they're also decent as well. So that's nice. And for Salmon Run, we have a few other changes or some bug fixes as well as some adjustments. First is a major introduction here. Made it so that hazard level max is displayed when starting a job if the stage hazard level is at the maximum level. In online Salmon Run, the title and rank of the crew affect the stage hazard level. So that's a nice quality of life change. And the other change is that made it so that more rank can be carried over at the start of the next job when the player has the title of professional and a rank of 100 or higher. So if you're between 100 and 199 on your current job, your next job you'll start at 100. Same with 200 to 299, 300 to 399, and 400 to 999. So yeah, that's a very substantial change for Salmon Run. And keep in mind that Salmon Run is brand new at this time in Splatoon 2, which we'll see later in Splatoon 3. Octo Canyon fixed an issue in which the player would be pushed out of the tip of an ink flare and go through terrain. Yeah, don't know why that was a thing there. Fixed an issue in which the player would pass through terrain and fall if a crate hidden in ink appeared in the same location as the player. Wonder why that was a problem there. Fixed an issue in which the Octoballer would not take damage from other attacks while being damaged by an ink storm. So that's a nice quality of life change there. Or a bug fix, the bug that got ironed out. And fixed an issue in which the player would fall outside of terrain immediately after respawning when defeated at a specific point in time in Transfer Junction. So yeah, Octo Canyon was still a bit of a mess here, but most of these updates would continue to make Octo Canyon more bearable. So with these quality of life changes or bug fixes. So that's nice. And other changes are for Amiibo and for spectator mode in private battles, or for wearing certain gear. And that's it. That is 2.3. And you know, looking at 2.3, the next update would usher in what would be called the Golden Age of Splatoon 2. And we'll talk about that in the next video. Thank you all for watching. If you guys like the video, be sure you subscribe and don't forget to leave a like on the video. If you want to see more videos like this, just send a comment below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. And until then, stay fresh.